Hi, I'm back talking about more books. So these are the two very last books that I read just recently. I'm gonna talk about these, and funny enough, they're both about death. I hadn't really planned it like that. It just turned out like that. So let's start with the first one, which is The Death of Ivan Illich by Leo Tolstoy. And this was an interesting one. It really does immediately start off with the death of Ivan Illich. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, that name, Illich. But I think it's said like that or something like that. Anyhow, so we start with his death and the funeral. But then what I kind of expected to happen, and I didn't really know anything much going into this book. I'm just trying to go through different kinds of classics and yeah, so this was an interesting classic that I didn't know about, but I heard good things about it and it has good ratings. So I was like, yeah, let's give it a go. And also I tried to read Leo Tolstoy because I might read one of his longer books. So I wanted to first see how is it in a very, very short one. So we start with his death, the funeral, like I said, but then what I thought would happen was like maybe some kind of investigation, maybe some kind of, detective thingy. But nothing like that happens at all. So instead, what you do is you follow Ivan and like through his life and what he did. And then we just follow along him almost like in a first person, though it's not written in first person, but almost like we are in that perspective because we hear a lot of his thoughts, of his opinions, of like, yeah, how he sees the world and it's so funny. I actually marked a little thing that I want to read here because he's a special character, which is why this is so interesting to follow him and his view of the world. And here in one section, when he has started to get sick and he's starting to like realize that maybe he could die. So this is what he thinks of himself. So I'm reading it. It's not really a spoiler, so I'm just reading a very small paragraph. Yes, Caesar is mortal, as Julius Caesar is mortal, and it's all right for him to die. But not me, Vanya, Ivan Illich, with all my feelings and thoughts. It's different for me. It can't be me having to die. That would be too horrible. So that is the kind of type of man Ivan is, and you follow him, and also a lot of about little bit politics, a little bit like more maybe societal expectations, and you have to marry like he's going up in society with different jobs and things like that. Money is also a big point, and gambling, and yeah, and he's that kind of person, like I just read, so I guess you can kind of see that it's not always just going well for him, and he's so like convinced that he's not supposed to die. It's fascinating to read. I actually really I enjoyed him more than I thought I would. Once I realized we were just following through his life, but it was actually very entertaining and a good short read. So yeah, I can recommend it. And for me, I feel like this was a good start into Leo Tolstoy, and maybe I'll tackle one of his longer books. So that's The Death of Ivan Illich by Leo Tolstoy. And the book that I read the most recent is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I'm not so 100% sure, I'm sorry. Little bit conflicted about this book. Okay, let's start at the beginning. So it's about a silent patient. So we're in a mental hospital, and there is a patient there who literally does not talk. Nothing at all. It's completely silent. And I guess I can say this because this is like in the first chapter. So if you don't even want to be spoiled for the first chapter, but I do need to say because it's basically the premise. And yes, it's even in the synopsis on the back. So yeah, it's not a spoiler. So this woman, Alicia, who's the silent patient, she murdered her husband. and was eventually not put into prison, but like was considered mentally unstable, and that she didn't know what she was doing. And so she's a silent patient, and it's all about, yeah, what happened there. Like, why would someone, just suddenly out of the blue murder her husband? So very, very cool premise, and I really enjoyed it. And you're not so much following Alicia, but the caretaker, the therapist that basically wants to take over her case and work with her and help her. And that I really loved. Like, I actually read it fairly fast because it was very exciting. Also, the chapters are really, really short, which, like, I said that before in other videos. But it just works for me because, like, if a chapter is short, then I'm like, okay, one more. And then after, when a longer comes, that's when I actually will finish reading for the day. Depending on if it's the first thing I read, of course, then I will keep going anyway. But I don't know, so I just really enjoyed it. So I swallowed this book fairly fast. And then, so why I have conflicted feelings about it is, so in the end, no spoilers, but in the end there's a big twist. And I love the twist in and of itself. I didn't see it coming. But at the same time, so the slight problem with this is that earlier in the book, it's like the author isn't honest. And there was no way of even catching this twist. Because we're just flat right lied to you, and it's not a unreliable narrator. The narrator knows exactly the things as they are, and what happened. So that's why I'm like, in one way I'm like, oh, this is really cool, and another way I'm like, yeah, but why, like, it feels a little bit forced and a little bit faked, because yeah, again, like, so like it just didn't really work with what the character would think in the beginning, and yeah, that bugs me a little bit. So I enjoyed it for the most part. I was like switching between 3 stars and 4 stars on Goodreads. I think 3.5 is my final thing, because I can't give it 4 stars because I don't think that's an okay thing to do. Yeah. And then there is also smaller plot holes. I can usually look past them if they don't annoy me too much, but some of them, once again, were made in order to make the twist happen. So yeah, it's a shame. It's in general, I think quite a smart story, but it has a few weaknesses, and instead of trying and getting them right, it feels like they just wanted the book out and just have it done a little bit, which is a shame, because again, other than that, like the style it's written in, like, you can really feel the different kind of characters. I really enjoyed that. You also get to read the diary of Alicia from time to time, so you really get the feel of who she is. Yeah, and the interesting, should I say that? No, that's spoilery. Sorry, so I'm gonna hold back on that. But I'm also, what should I say? So I'm not sure the title is the best one. Let's just say that. Yeah. So you need to read it to maybe understand what I mean with that comment. Would I recommend it? Yeah, I think I would. I think also this could be an interesting, actually, as a visual medium, could be very interesting. But then without the line part, please. So yeah, but very interesting book. Also very different read for me. Like a lot about mental health, and they were talking a lot about, yeah, like, you know, projections that we humans do also when we talk to someone, and sometimes it's not our feelings that we're feeling, but the feeling of someone else, and all that stuff was so very good, and I really enjoyed those. Yeah, so it's a shame. I wanted to extremely love it. I did until the last couple of pages, but I have to be honest and just say, yeah, a little bit missed opportunity there. So it could be better. It could have been a little bit better put together, so it actually works in the way they wanted it to work, instead of forcing it. But yeah, that's The Silent Patient by Alex Michael. I don't know why I have such problems with that word, with that name, Michaelides. Sorry. And those are the two books that I recently read. Right now, I'm still reading A Storm of Swords, and today, my new book should arrive. So then we're gonna continue with new books. But that's it for now for books that I'm currently reading. Might do another video going back. We'll see. Or I'll talk about the new books that are coming next video. We'll see. I don't know yet. I'll decide later. That's it for me. So have a lovely day, and I'll see ya. Bye.